Bree here, and today we have some Am I the A-hole sibling drama. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my brother to school after he made jokes about one of his classmates? Let's see. My brother, 15, goes to the same private school I attend. It's full of a bunch of spoiled rich kids whose entire identity is surrounded by how much money their parents make. If you don't have a car by 16, you get bullied without a doubt. Ooh. So a friend shared a TikTok her sister posted, and it was a group of boys bullying a kid waiting for the bus. They were mocking him, laughing at him, and at one point someone off camera threw food at the kid. Ugh, that is terrible. After a few plays, I recognized two kids, one being my brother. I'm gonna go ahead and say you're not the a-hole right now, cause if he's bullying someone, that's not a joke. I told my parents and they brushed it off saying, he's a teen boy, you know how they get. Boys will be boys, the classic excuse. How about, instead of just saying, oh, this is what teen boys do, we discipline and explain to them why this is not something they should be doing, otherwise they will never grow out of it. When my brother got home, I told him that what he did wasn't right, and he walked away laughing. Yeah, this kid needs some serious discipline, but given the way the mom responded, I'm honestly not surprised. I told my mom as long as he continues to bully people and they do nothing about it, I won't take him to school anymore. Fair. This will mean he'll have to take public transportation because my parents leave too early for work to take him to school. I love that. That is poetic justice. He bullied someone for having to take the bus, and now he will have to take the bus. That is actually the perfect repercussions for this. Perfect consequences. My parents are livid, saying I'm an a-hole for being so unreasonable and sensitive over a joke. It's not a joke, it's bullying. Hey y'all, so tomorrow is his first day taking the bus since my parents couldn't find anyone else to take him. Oh, boo-hoo. I'll update y'all this weekend and tell you how the week went. Can't wait. It's pretty late and I don't think I'll keep replying to people, but I want to clarify two things. One, I bought my car with my money. My parents didn't. It's not their car, it's mine. Okay, that's a fair distinction because the parents wanted her to keep bringing the brother, and if they bought the car, if it was their car, I could see the argument of they could take the car away basically if OP refused to drive their brother. But I would honestly still think they were in the right for their decision. Two, I'm not parenting my brother. I don't know how anyone jumped to that conclusion. I mean, you're teaching him a valuable lesson. That is, in a way, you're doing what your parents should be doing. If I no longer wish to go out of my way and pay for gas to take him to and from school every day, I don't have to. Like I said, he has the bus to take, and all it costs for kids under 18 is $1. $2 a day is not going to hurt my parents in the slightest. Yeah, no, especially not if this is a rich kid's school. And there seems to be some confusion. I said he goes to the same school I attended, not attend. I've graduated and I'm not a minor. Okay, here's some of the comments on the original post. Not the a-hole. Normally I would say you should not be the one to punish him and that he needs to get to school and you should not be interfering with that. But you stated he can take public transportation to get there and that he is 15, so not a little kid, so there should be no problem with him getting to school on his own. I agree. You shouldn't be interfering with his education, and it really shouldn't be your place to discipline him, but he needs to face consequences for his actions. Someone has to do it. Also, since you appear to not feel comfortable with his bullying ways, I see no reason why you should have to expose yourself to the possibility of having to deal with him by taking him to school every day. So yeah, not the a-hole. Hard agree. And OP said, oh no, I wouldn't deliberately make him miss school, and yeah, the bus ride is 15 to 20 minutes tops. I used to take the bus. Oh my, they used to take the bus. So this really is a golden kid situation. The parents don't want their precious baby boy to have to take the bus. And now, we have an update. I apologize for the late update, but here you are. And I added dates so there isn't any confusion. So, as I said, I was no longer taking my brother to school, and my parents couldn't find anyone else to take him, so we had to take the bus. Someone mentioned why not Uber or Lyft, and that's because my parents don't trust either. And there's nothing wrong with taking the bus. Thing is, he was off the hook the first 3 days, because my mom let him stay home the first day, then one of his friends was taking him, which stopped because he was grounded as he was one of the bullies. Yay! Consequences! Someone is facing consequences! Yay! Then the next Monday through Thursday, he had to get the bus. Let me guess, he didn't like that. Monday, November 1st, he still took me as a joke, woke me up, and told me to take him to school. I said no, and that's when it hit him that I was dead serious. I gave him $1 and told him to take the bus. And as some of you guessed, he hated it, and according to my mom, I made him have a panic attack because he had to take public transportation. Because he bullied other people for taking public transportation, and now he has to do it because he thinks it's so beneath him. I'm sorry, I've had panic attacks. They're not fun. And he might have legitimately had a panic attack because this was so out of his comfort zone. But I'm having a really hard time feeling bad for him. Anyway, yada yada, he missed the bus and was late to school. He did that on purpose. He missed the bus on purpose, 100%. The other days, he took the bus and I didn't hear anything about him being bullied for it. To those of you who claims I was making him take the bus to get bullied, were people really saying you were trying to make your brother get bullied? No, you're trying to make him see that people shouldn't be bullied for taking the bus. Friday, my mom let him stay home again because, you guessed it, he didn't want to take the bus, so he only took it those 4 days. And for those of you who think I stopped taking him as an easy way out, literally piss off because that is not the case. It's not hard to see why I stopped taking him, you guys are reaching. As for the bullying situation goes, I don't know if every kid has the same punishments, but surprisingly the school made my brother apologize to the kid, gave him lunch detention, and what I do know, he and everyone involved has to pick up trash for 20 minutes every day after school and on Saturdays, with parent permission, for 3 weeks. Any kid who posted or reposted the video got in trouble as well. Good on the school. I want to add about the bullied kid. I contacted his mom, told her about my brother being one of the kids who bullied her son, and apologized on my brother's behalf. That's very nice of you. But someone who lives nearby was willing to take him to school, so I'm sorry to those of you who were looking forward to me taking him, but I wouldn't have been able to anyways because they live too far. Also, on my parents, my mom still believes it's something a teen boy would do, but my dad admitted after seeing the video, regardless of how much or how little my brother participated, he was in the wrong. Good. That's the only reason my brother is picking up trash, because my dad signed off on it since my mom wouldn't. Good on your dad. I just love the poetic justice of him bullying someone for taking the bus and then having to take the bus. I hope he learned his lesson. I hope that him finally having some kinds of consequences for his actions opens his eyes. I don't know if this will be enough or not, given that his mom is letting him stay home to avoid taking the bus, but hopefully it's a step in the right direction, and it's satisfying at the very least. On to the next post. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that her crappy attitude was the reason her brother doesn't speak to her anymore? Depends on how bad her attitude is. Maybe she needed to hear it. Or maybe you're hitting someone when she's down and you should have kept your opinion to yourself. But let's see. So this all goes all the way back to last Christmas when my 29 male wife, 29 female, and I first met my brother-in-law's 28 male girlfriend, 23 female. Now, just for general background knowledge, my wife has 3 siblings, and out of all, she has always been the closest to Peter, meaning he would come over to our house at least 2 times a week. He has a spare set of keys to our place in case of an emergency, and we even had an emergency key to his apartments. Everything was fine until last October, when we noticed that Peter stopped coming over. At first, I didn't really care that much, but then my wife said he hardly even replied to her texts, which was concerning since Peter has a history of depression and sometimes withdraws from everyone when he hits a dark place. So one night, after my wife got his voicemail 4 times, and after my in-laws confirmed that they too did not hear back from him, out of concern, we drove to his apartment and used the emergency key. That's probably fair. Maybe knock on the door first before you just barge in with the key, but he has a history of depression, so I get being concerned about that. Usually when Peter gets like this, his apartment looks a mess, but to our surprise, when we walked inside, his place was spotless and smelled like a Bath & Body Works store. When my wife realized that he wasn't home, she took the opportunity to snoop. Okay, that might be going a little far. And that's when she found silk sheets, high-end women's clothing, skincare, new appliances, and meal preps in the fridge, and realized that Peter had a girlfriend. Okay, I get being concerned, I get going to check on him. Not sure how I feel about the snooping. As soon as we got home, my wife sent him a message telling him that we stopped by, and she even asked why didn't he tell us he was seeing someone. Eventually, Peter called back and apologized for being so distant and explained to my wife that he had been dating this girl, Sheila, for a while, and the reason he didn't tell us was because my wife was often too pushy, and he didn't want her to be upset that he was dating someone she didn't put him onto. My wife has been trying to set him up with our friends several times in the past. Okay, that's fair. I've heard of people being like, you didn't want to date any of the people I set you up with and now you're dating someone? What? But I would think she'd just be happy. Hey, you found someone you clicked with. He told us not to worry if he doesn't stop by as much anymore and that he would introduce us to her when he felt ready. After that, we hardly ever heard from him until December, when he told us he was bringing his girlfriend Sheila to meet the family the day after Christmas. Honestly, I was happy for him. Yes, I missed hanging out, but I was was happy that the dude was living his own life. My wife, however, was furious, saying that Sheila was probably the one making Peter distance himself from the family, and that she made him buy all those expensive items we had seen at his place. Okay, making him buy expensive... You shouldn't have been snooping around the expensive items at his place. But I can see some concerns that maybe she's isolating him from the family, but I can also, it's a new relationship. Maybe reserve some judgment. Give the benefit of the doubt until you have some actual evidence that she's not a good person. At this point, you don't know anything. It's a new relationship. He's excited. He's spending all his time with her. That happens. Now that we're at the meet the family stage, you can meet her and see how they interact together. See if it seems like she's trying to distance him from the family, and then you can come and form those conclusions. When the day after Christmas came, everyone gathered at my in-laws' house to meet Sheila, and everyone, including myself, were a bit surprised. Sheila was nowhere near his usual type. As my sister-in-law said, she gave off black cat energy. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I honestly thought she was pretty nice, friendly to everyone, helped in the kitchen, cracked a few jokes, and Peter seemed happy. He was telling everyone about how he had been eating less processed junk food and now craves cleaner meals, and how Sheila takes him on her runs. Throughout it all, however, my wife looked noticeably annoyed, and when I tried to speak to her, she just brushed me off, saying that Sheila was trying to change Peter into someone he was not. But despite everything, she held her tongue. Encouraging someone you care about to develop healthy habits, that's not trying to change someone into someone they're not, that's caring about their well-being. And he seems happy with these changes. So maybe be happy for him? No, I want my brother to be unhealthy. That night, while my wife and I were having drinks with all her siblings, the conversation steered towards everyone making a few jokes about Peter's new lifestyle and how he must be whipped for his new girlfriend, and how surprised they were that his type changed so much. It was all lighthearted until my wife offered Peter a second beer, and he declined. Every time Peter's in quotations, I just Peter, is that really Peter? I know it's because they changed the name for the Reddit story, but it just feels like Peter. If this was really Peter, I have my doubts this was really Peter. It was all lighthearted until my wife offered Peter a second beer and he declined, saying that he tries to drink less now because Sheila hates the smell of it. That led to my sister-in-law cracking a joke, saying something along the lines of, he better refuse the beer or else he wouldn't get lucky that night. I feel like they're kind of bullying him for having a girlfriend. At that point, I think Peter just had enough of the jokes and drank another beer just to quiet the others down. By 1 a.m., Peter had gotten pretty tipsy. 2 beers had turned into 5, and then he took the bait of the other jokes by revealing that Sheila actually wants to wait a while before they do anything together. And immediately after he said that, my wife told him, with the amount of crap you bought because of her, you should be cracking that by now. That is so inappropriate. Don't say that to your brother. Don't say that to anyone. Now, if she had just left it there, maybe he wouldn't have gotten angry. I don't know. I would have. But she followed up with her being surprised because Sheila looks like she gives it up pretty easily. I'm now remembering the title of this Reddit post, and I'm leaning towards not the a-hole because it sounds like you're in the right for calling her out, because oh my. I still get the concerns about distancing from the family, but it sounds like at this family gathering, she's being involved and helping out. So from OP's description, I'm not getting that vibe from her. There's no reason to be treating her like this and acting like this about her. After that went down and Peter hasn't spoken to my wife since December. I don't blame him. Now you really can't tell if she's distancing him from the family because now he's not going to want to talk to you. No matter how many times I have tried to reason with her and tell her that all she needs to do is apologize, she won't hear it. She keeps insisting that she was the only one who cared enough to tell him the truth. That is not caring enough to tell him the truth. That would be like, hey, I have these legitimate concerns about your new girlfriend. Let me lay them out for you. Not saying that. Now she has been trying to turn her parents against Peter's relationship by telling them how Sheila posts designer bags and shoes on her Instagram and that she bets Peter is the one paying for it all. Sounds like she really wants to jump to conclusions. Is this kind of like I said before with she's upset that Peter didn't end up with one of the people she set him up with? Last night I tried to tell her to stop saying things like that and that she should be happy for her brother, but that escalated into an argument where she made a crappy remark about how I apparently don't know what an older sibling looking out for their younger sibling looks like because my parents were too busy cheating on one another to make me a brother or sister. That is, you do not say that to your spouse. This lady has problems. At that point, after hearing that, I couldn't help myself and told her that her nasty attitude was the reason Peter cut her off, which made her cry. Maybe harsh, but at that point I don't blame you, and you're the only person that cared enough to tell her the truth. Am I the a-hole for finally reaching the end of the rope and telling my wife the ugly truth? No. Update number 1. Now, this isn't an official update, but this is how things have progressed up until this point. After waking up this morning, reading your comments, and doing some quiet assessment of the entire situation, I decided to reach out to Peter, not on behalf of my wife, not to make excuses for her behavior, but to genuinely check in and make sure he was truly doing okay, and to let him know that despite it all, if he ever wanted to talk, I am here. That's very nice of you. It took a bit of convincing, but I will be meeting with him tomorrow during my lunch break. Moving on to how things are currently between my wife and I, since that argument, she has been very frosty, despite the fact that I have tried to apologize to her all day long. You aren't the one in the wrong, you're not the one needing to apologize. Before she left for work, I told her that I was sorry for the way I phrased my words. Okay, actually, that's a fair apology. Not saying, hey, I'm sorry for saying something that was true, but I'm sorry for the way I phrased it. I could have phrased it better. That's very good apology. And that I would like it if we could sit down, think about the situation rationally, and look at each other's perspectives to gain a better understanding. I told her that I really didn't want Valentine's Day to come with us still at odds with one another. That, however, just led to another argument. Apparently, to her, it seems as if I'm playing devil's advocate for Sheila. I tried to explain to her that I am just being honest in my opinion based on that one meeting. I don't think that Sheila is a gold digger or even trying to change who Peter truly is. I told my wife that Peter is just doing what a lot of guys do when they find someone they truly connect to. They make changes to better themselves for the person they care about. But I guess I was just lighting the match for the fire, as my wife responded by saying that apparently I am only giving a good assessment because I find Sheila attractive. Is she just jealous of Sheila's looks or something? I reassured my wife that she is the only woman I find attractive, but by that point she just scoffed and left for work. This evening, after she got back home from work, she said that she had a late lunch with her friends and wasn't in the mood for dinner. When I tried to bring up our earlier discussion, she told me that she now knows that I would never take her side or trust her instincts. Oh, that blowing things out of proportion of, oh, because you don't agree with me in this, oh, you never take my side. That is such, it's a gaslighting technique. It's terrible. Ugh. After that, she said she couldn't believe I don't see why she is so concerned for Peter and went to bed. And now we have the big updates. I'm looking forward to seeing how the lunch with Peter went. Hey guys, it's been a while. Honestly, I wish I had a happier update to give, but it seems like every time I try to take one step forward, I just end up taking 3 back. My lunch with Peter went great actually. There was no fuss or stress. At first we talked about work, the family, and then we gradually shifted the conversation to how things lay with him and my wife. Peter said that my wife was way out of line in suggesting that his girlfriend was a gold digger, and if she and the rest of her siblings had let him get a proper sentence out during their conversation during the holiday period, he would have set them straight and told them that Sheila has her own money and buys basically whatever she wants. Yeah, I don't like the way the family ganged up on him. I really don't. Apparently, he said that Sheila even owns a small business back in her home country and earns a decent living for herself there. He admitted that yes, he buys her gifts, as all boyfriends do for their girlfriends, but those gifts aren't the reason she's with him. Peter said that he and Sheila truly enjoy one another's company. He said that yeah, he went out and bought new stuff like an air fryer for his apartment, but that was because he genuinely wanted those items. He said that Sheila has been teaching him to cook simple stuff in the crockpot he bought so that he won't turn to DoorDash when she isn't there to make meals. That's great. That's a good habit to have. I learned that Sheila has her own appliances in her apartment. That makes sense. What came as a surprise to me though was the fact that Peter told me he asked Sheila to move in with him, but she declined his offer. He said that her reason was that she doesn't believe in living together before marriage, and she also thinks it is way too soon and she doesn't want him to feel suffocated. So she wants them to still have space and to ease into things. Yeah, it doesn't sound like she's controlling at all. It's shocking because they've been dating for like 9 months, I think. And to me personally, that seems too soon to ask, but hey, to each their own, they're both adults. Out of care, and because I read a few comments suggesting that Sheila could possibly be manipulating Peter by withholding sexy times, I casually mentioned to him that if he ever wants to talk about anything, be it ribs or relationship trouble, I am here. I also just kind of told him that it was good that he and she were waiting a bit and getting to know one another on a serious level before doing anything together. Yeah, I agree. My husband and I waited for marriage, so that's not really something that is strange to me. Peter said that they wanted to wait because apparently Sheila doesn't have much experience in that department, and after hearing that, I just wrote off the entire conversation because honestly, as long as he isn't in trouble or being manipulated, I'm good. They could wait 5 years as long as they are happy. Yeah, that's none of your business. Out of care, I asked Peter if Sheila has made changes as well since their relationship began, and he said that her diet has changed a bit now because of him. He said that once every 2 or 3 weeks, I think, he takes her to one of his favorite takeout places and they get his old order to go. Okay, so he's not like completely giving up his old lifestyle. He's just making healthier choices and still treating himself on occasion and getting to share that with her. He said that she watches videos and stuff about fish because she knows he has an interest in fish tanks, etc. This sounds like a great, perfectly healthy relationship. During the course of the conversation, I learned that before Peter blocked my wife, she would send him unhinged messages, just raging about how wrong Sheila was for him, and how she was driving him away from the family so he can be isolated. He laughed after I read that message because he said that Sheila has actually been trying to ensure that Peter feels like he has a support system outside of her. He said that she cooked a whole spread for him and his friends so that they could watch the Super Bowl. She even left after cooking, even though they insisted she stay and watch with them, just so he could spend some time alone with his friends. If you actually talk to him instead of jumping to conclusions and just judging this girl for no reason. The messages didn't stop at that. My wife even told him that Sheila was probably just using Peter for citizenship and that she wanted to escape her third world country home. Is that where the real issue lies? Peter said that was the message that solidified his decision to block my wife. Yeah, I don't blame him one bit. All of her messages were completely unfounded. He said that Sheila has been a citizen for a few years now and that she actually has a pretty good house back in her home country. Peter said that Sheila has actually been more open to forgiving my wife than him. I mean, the betrayal's more personal for him, so that kind of makes sense. That she's very family oriented and hates the idea that others think she is trying to isolate him. Oh. Moving on to the current status of my marriage, my wife has no idea that I met with Peter on Friday. I would have told her, but when I got home that evening, she was in a bad mood because apparently one of her friends said something insensitive. Is it something else she blew out of proportion? Saturday came around and that was when things got bad. We weren't the best, but things were somewhat calm when my wife decided to rant about the entire situation with Peter again. I tried my very best to shut it down by saying that yes, I know it still bothers her and I want to try and see how she can try and rebuild her relationship with her brother, but not on Valentine's Day. For a minute or two, she was quiet. I thought she agreed and that she wanted us to have a nice day. But it turns out the only reason she was quiet was because she was looking at Sheila's Instagram. I tried to shift her attention away. I asked her if she was excited to see where I was taking her. I asked if she wanted to get dessert at the restaurant or at home. She just brushed me off until I finally had enough and told her to stop being weird and that most people don't spend hours obsessing over their brother's girlfriend. Seriously, what is her deal? She shot back saying I don't care about her or her family and that I am apparently allowing her brother to get taken advantage of just because a pretty woman happens to be doing it. I took a breath and told her calmly that I do care about Peter, but I trust him and his ability to think for himself and that there is a simple way for her to quell her worries. All she has to do is apologize to her brother and ask for the chance to get to know his partner. She said that she doesn't need to get to know Sheila because she apparently knows girls like Sheila who survive off of, and I quote, nuts and crappy low-carb food. So she doesn't like that she's health conscious. She's inventing whatever issues she can with Sheila. I think she either doesn't want her brother in a relationship, or she's just salty that it's not one of the girls that she tried to set him up with. I just gave up and told her that she would drive herself mad. We did go out for Valentine's, but the vibe was just not there. No, because she spent it obsessing over her brother's girlfriend. Why are you obsessing over your brother's girlfriend on Valentine's Day? Why are you obsessing over her at all, but especially on Valentine's Day? This evening when she gets home, I'm going to ask her to attend couples counseling with me, or if she prefers individual therapy, because this is becoming too much. You need that at the very least. Yeah, I agree with this comment. Why are you with someone who sounds so awful? Your wife is a bitter, shallow, and likely racist a-hole. OP says, hey, I know that this sounds like a pretty crappy excuse, but my wife and I have been together since we were 22. We got married when we were 25. She has carried me through some dark times, especially the death of my parents. Back when we fell in love, she wasn't so angry. Her words weren't so bitter. She generally wasn't such a hateful person. Sure, she and Peter have always been close, but I have never genuinely seen her act this way towards one of his girlfriends before, and I am just dumbfounded. I guess the main thing keeping me here is the hope that she returns to the fun-loving, easygoing person she used to be. Yeah, that's tough when you have so much time and emotion and energy invested into a relationship. If this isn't the way she's always been, that would be tough to just turn around and leave. I think counseling is absolutely necessary though. And OP, you are not the a-hole. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. See ya!